In the same week, two of the biggest names in enterprise technology told us two very different stories about AI and jobs. Oracle's latest filing showed a workforce about 21,000 people smaller than a year earlier and said its restructuring includes the adoption and integration of artificial intelligence. Microsoft announced another 4,800 role reductions, then took the unusual step of saying those roles were not being replaced by AI. So, which version should you believe? Is AI already replacing people, or is it simply the newest excuse attached to ordinary corporate cost-cutting? Here's my answer. Both stories can be technically true and still leave workers with fewer chairs in the room. AI does not have to perform one person's entire job to erase one position. It only has to remove enough tasks that a company decides not to replace the person who leaves, not to hire the next graduate, or to give one manager twice as many people and projects. That is the part of this story most headlines miss. The immediate danger may not be a robot taking your badge tomorrow. It may be a career ladder with its bottom rungs quietly removed. Let's start with what the companies actually disclosed, because the wording matters. Oracle reported roughly 141,000 employees at the end of May, down from about 162,000 a year earlier. That is approximately 21,000 fewer people, or 13% of its workforce. In its annual filing, Oracle said restructuring activity includes the adoption and integration of AI technologies, and warned that workforce reductions may continue. But that filing does not say an AI agent directly replaced every one of those 21,000 people. Oracle was also restructuring, consolidating operations, and investing heavily in cloud infrastructure. Anyone who turns that number into 21,000 jobs taken by AI is claiming more than the evidence shows. Microsoft's message was almost the mirror image. It said it was cutting about 4,800 roles, around 2.1% of its global workforce. It explicitly said those roles were not being replaced by AI. At the same time, Microsoft said AI is changing how work gets done and automating some tasks. It also pointed to more than 4,000 employees redeployed over the previous year. I think that contrast is revealing. Oracle describes AI inside a restructuring process. Microsoft separates AI from a particular round of job cuts. Neither statement tells us how many future vacancies will never be posted. Corporate announcements count departures. They rarely count the empty desks a company quietly decides it no longer needs. This is why the sentence, "AI did not replace these jobs," is less comforting than it sounds. Imagine a customer support team of 100 people. An AI tool drafts replies, summarizes cases, and handles the easiest requests. No machine performs the complete job of a support agent, and no executive has to announce that an agent was replaced by a bot. But if 10 people resign and the company only replaces 3, the team still gets smaller because software absorbed part of the workload. Or take a finance department. AI prepares the first draft of a report, checks invoices, and turns meeting notes into action items. The accountant still owns the judgment and the signature. Yet one accountant may now cover work that previously required an analyst underneath them. The job has not vanished in a laboratory sense. The seat has vanished in a budget. That distinction, jobs versus tasks, is not wordplay. It explains how companies can sincerely say AI is a productivity tool, while workers sincerely experience it as headcount pressure. And there is another layer. AI can be a worker, but it can also be an alibi. A company may already want flatter management, lower costs, or a better share price. Attaching the word AI makes an old-fashioned restructuring sound like technological destiny. If the automation works, management takes credit for innovation. If it disappoints, The reduced workforce is left carrying the extra load. Workers are right to be skeptical of that one-way bet. The broader data is much messier than either the optimists or the doomers usually admit. Australia's Department of Employment and Workplace Relations says it has not found evidence of a broad AI-driven labor market upheaval. It has seen slower growth in occupations with more AI exposure, but calls the signals suggestive, not definitive. SHRM estimates that 1/5 of wage and salary employment already has at least half its tasks automated. That sounds dramatic, but it also finds that more than 60% of employment still has at least one important non-technical barrier to full displacement, things like trust, accountability, physical presence, regulation, or the simple fact that customers sometimes want a responsible human. Only about 5.1% of employment fell into its most exposed category, highly automated and without one of those barriers. Then there is PwC's 2026 AI Jobs Barometer, which complicates the story again. It found stronger headcount and wage growth among firms with greater AI exposure. Jobs asking for AI skills grew far faster than the overall market and carried a substantial wage premium. That is real evidence against the idea that AI exposure automatically means job destruction. But growth averages can hide who gets squeezed. A company can hire more AI engineers while cutting coordinators, junior analysts, and support staff. The total headcount may rise while the doorway for a 22-year-old gets narrower. So, I do not believe the honest conclusion is AI is taking every job. It is also not nothing is happening. The honest conclusion is that work is being rearranged faster than our job titles, and official statistics can describe it. The most worrying part is the missing first rung. Microsoft research found that employment among workers aged 22 to 25 in highly AI-exposed jobs declined 16% relative to similar, less exposed roles. It also found signs that hiring into junior positions slows after companies adopt AI. The OECD, however, found no clear break after the arrival of ChatGPT in junior job postings across high versus low exposure occupations. Both groups warn that the evidence is early and tangled up with interest rates, pandemic overhiring, and the wider economy. That uncertainty matters. We should not pretend one study has already written the future, but the mechanism is easy to understand. Junior work is often repetitive because repetition is how people learn. The first market report, the first simple piece of code, the first customer complaint, and the first contract review are not glamorous. They are practice. A senior employee spots this strange exception because years ago, they handled 1,000 ordinary cases. Now, suppose AI takes the ordinary cases. The senior worker becomes faster today, but the company has fewer reasons to hire and train the junior who could replace them tomorrow. 5 years later, management complains about a shortage of experienced people after automating the work that created experience. This is my biggest concern about the current AI race. We are treating apprenticeship as inefficiency. The spreadsheet shows time saved this quarter. It does not show the judgment we failed to build for the next decade. If AI eliminates entry-level work, where do future experts come from? You cannot supervise what you were never allowed to learn from the ground up. There is a second reason people are angry. The benefits and the burdens are landing in different places. Microsoft's own workplace research says 65% of AI users fear falling behind if they do not adapt. Yet only 13% say they are rewarded for reinventing their work with AI. That gap tells a story. Employees are told to become more productive, check the model's mistakes, learn new tools, and absorb faster deadlines. But the reward may be the same salary and a smaller team. Quality assurance is work. Correcting a confident hallucination is work. Taking responsibility for an automated decision is work. If one person is now babysitting 10 AI agents, the dashboard may call that leverage. The person may call it 10 new ways to be blamed. This is where companies can lose trust even when the technology is useful. If every productivity gain becomes a headcount target, employees learn to hide the best automation ideas. Why would someone eagerly demonstrate a tool that may eliminate their colleague and double their own workload? The smarter bargain is to share some of the gain: better pay, shorter low-value work, stronger training, or a real path into higher responsibility roles. AI adoption is not only a software project, it is a negotiation over who receives the time that software saves. So, what should a worker do without pretending everyone can simply learn AI and become a machine learning engineer? First, map your job into tasks. Mark which tasks AI can do alone, which it can draft, and which still require trust, context, or accountability. Your job title is too broad to be useful. The task map shows where pressure will arrive first. Second, learn the review layer, not just the prompt layer. Prompting is becoming ordinary. The scarcer skill is knowing when the answer is wrong, what evidence is missing, and what consequence follows from a mistake. Microsoft found employers putting more weight on analytical thinking, resilience, and digital literacy in AI-exposed roles. Those skills are not decorative. They are the human control system. Third, keep evidence of outcomes. Do not write "used AI" on a resume and expect it to impress anyone. Show that you cut response time without lowering customer satisfaction, found errors before release, or turned a weekly report into a decision people actually used. Fourth, protect your apprenticeship. If AI creates the first draft, compare it with the raw material. Ask to shadow difficult cases. Volunteer for the judgment-heavy part instead of letting the model quietly become the only thing that sees the fundamentals. And for employers, measure what automation does to the talent pipeline, not only this year's payroll. Keep a deliberate number of junior roles. Rotate people through foundational work. Reward employees who redesign a process instead of making them fear that honesty will delete a teammate. The companies that automate every beginner task may look efficient right up to the moment they discover no one knows how to handle an exception. Oracle and Microsoft are not giving us a simple answer because there is no single number called jobs replaced by AI. There are layoffs, non-backfills, reorganizations, new AI roles, higher hiring bars, and tasks that disappear inside jobs that keep the same title. My view is that mass unemployment is not yet the evidence-based story. A quieter restructuring of opportunity is. AI is raising the ceiling for people who can use it well, while potentially lifting the first rung out of reach for people still trying to begin. That future is not inevitable. Companies can preserve apprenticeship, share productivity gains, and keep humans responsible for consequential decisions. Workers can build judgment around the tools instead of competing with them at raw speed. But we should stop asking only, did a robot replace this person? The better question is, after AI changed the work, did the company still create a place for a person to enter, learn, and grow? Because the most important job AI takes may be the one that never gets advertised. If your workplace is using AI, has it made your job better? Or simply made your team smaller? Tell me what you are seeing. This is Machine and Margin.